we are beginning with our unit 7, which is visualization. So let us start. If we talk about the basics of this visualization. So data visualization. Data visualization, it is a process of turning the raw data into the visual presentation. That means you have certain data, certain raw data, you want to represent it in some visual form. So that process, it is known as data visualization. Typically, those visualization, they can be in the form of charts, graph, tables, and those forms. So our raw data, the data that we have, if we want to analyze, if you want to view it in a better way, so that it can be used easily for the analysis of data. So we have to use various visualization tools, like we can use different charts. We have the pie chart, bar chart, and scatter chart. Number of charts are there. We can use those charts to analyze our data. We can use different graphs. We can use various tables. We can use various maps to visualize our data. So the purpose of data visualization is to make the data easier and faster to understand, even by the people who are not trained in analytics or typically good with numbers. There are certain people who are not very good in remembering the number, in analyzing the numbers. So data visualization helps them a lot. Helps them by understanding the data easily. Like if you have certain data in the form of a graph. So with the help of graph, if you want to analyze your sale in the various months, January, February, March, April, and so on. I have drawn it in the form of graph, so you can view it easily. In the January, this much was our sale. In the February, it increased. In March, it came down. So if the graph is going up, we can see that we are moving on, are having an increase in the sale. If it is coming down, we can so easily analyze that no, the sale has decreased. So the analysis, it becomes very easy when we have certain data visualization techniques. If you are being provided with the figures that the sale was, suppose whatever quantity you have said, the sale this much, this much, this much. Now to analyze it in the form of numbers becomes difficult for us. But when we analyze it in the form of graphs, in the form of charts, so it becomes very easy and we can memorize it also very easily if it is in the form of visualization. Now, there can be a number of ways in which the data can be visualized. Here we are discussing some of the most commonly used one. So the data visualization types, it can be first one, charts and graphs. Charts and graphs, they are typically the first tools which are considered when discussing the data visualization storytelling. Whenever you want to analyze your data, you can, with the help of graphs, analyze it very easily. With the help of charts, now you have different types of charts which we can use as per our requirement. We have scatter chart, we have bar chart, we have pie chart, number of charts, different types of charts are there. So with the help of these charts and graphs, they are the first tools which are considered when we want to visualize our data. Then we have the tables. With the help of tables, we can analyze our data easily. So when you want to accompany your visual with a more specific look at the data behind them. So typically here, tables are the best to display this kind of information. So tables, they are another way to visualize our data. With the help of tables, if we generate different tables, with the help of tables, we can analyze our data easily. Maps. If you want to know something about any particular location, so map is the ideal way to display the data according to the location. If you have been provided with a map, so you can so easily get to know the route. So if there is some data according to the location, so at that point of time, we can use a data visualization type which is the map. So with the help of map, we can easily locate the various locations. So map is another visual representation of our data. So basically here we are discussing about data visualization. In data visualization, what we are trying to do? We are trying to turn our raw data into certain visual representation. Now, what are the requirements of this data visualization? Why do we require this data visualization? In a business or for any organization, we have number of things that we need to analyze. So for all those purposes, our data visualization tools, they can help us a lot. Let us see how. First of all, to identify the trend such as whether the sales are going down or certain processes are not as productive as they were. If we want to analyze the trends into our data, sale, it was like this, but now it has come down. These kinds of trends if we want to analyze. So to identify these kinds of trends, we may be requiring the data visualization tool. Then to understand the complex information quickly, like when people view the dashboard to conduct the overall process. Dashboard is helping us to visualize our data, but if we want to analyze the complex information, like when people view the dashboard to conduct the overall process, if you want to do this kind of analysis, so this kind of analysis becomes easy with the help of data visualization tools. Now, to identify the patterns, such as whether the first Wednesday of the month, it always has a spiked call volume. If we want to understand certain pattern into our sales or into our profits, if you want to analyze certain patterns like which occurs frequently, like if we are analyzing the sale of any particular organization or any business, if we want to find out the pattern that in which month the customer makes the most of the purchases, if we want to analyze it that way, so we can analyze the data, we can identify the pattern, and at that point of time, if we are able to identify the pattern of the customer, so we may benefit from this information. So when we want to identify the pattern, suppose we get to know that the first Wednesday, the sales become the highest on the first Wednesday of the month. So at that point of time, we need to load more and more products into our business or into our supermarket or whatever organization we are talking about. So for the analysis of those patterns, we can use this data visualization tools. Then to identify the relationships, such as whether the night production processes flounder when a right person is in charge. If you want to analyze a relationship, that if we do this, this happens in a better way. If you want to analyze certain relationships into our data, so at that point of time, we can use the data visualization tools. Then to analyze the risk and address issues before they become problems. That means if we want to analyze the various risks or whatever risks are occurring, whatever risk may occur, so at that point of time we can say we can take certain preventive measures to avoid those risks. But what is required first? To analyze those risks properly. Next, to identify the frequency, such as how often a product is purchased in a specific area. If we want to analyze the frequency, that how often is this particular thing happening, how often is the product being sold in this area, if we want to analyze the frequency. For that analysis, we can use our data visualization tools. So for identifying the trends, to understand the complex information, to identify the patterns, to identify the relationship, to analyze the risk and address the issues, and to identify the frequencies. These are few things which are can be used, which can be done very easily with the help of our data visualization tools. Most modern business intelligence interfaces, they have a wide number of options concerning the choice of how to use the data for visuals. In most cases, there is a command dashboard with a drag and drop interface which allows you to how will you connect with your data. First of all, you connect the data source to the system. For analyzing any kind of data, we have to connect our data source to our system. Then choose the data set to work with. We have to choose which data set we require. What kind of analysis are we doing? So accordingly, we can choose the data set to work with. Then we have to choose the type of visualization. Now we have number of visualization tools. We have different types of charts. We have different types of graphs, tables, and number of things are there. So we have to use a correct type of visualization. Now we can place these multiple visuals on the dashboards. Then we can create the interactive elements to manipulate the data. We need to manipulate our data. We may have to change our data. So we can create interactive elements onto it. We can modify the visuals as the data updates, as the data changes, as we have real-time data nowadays. So whenever there's an update in the data, we can modify the visuals. Then we can type the information manually. That is also another possibility, that we may have to type our information manually. And what happens at the end? We can save the reports. Whatever analysis we have done with the help of these data visualization tools, now accordingly the report will be prepared and we have to save that report. And the last thing may be to share those reports with our co-workers. The people who are more involved in this analysis, they may be shared with these kinds of reports. So we have a proper command dashboard with a drag and drop option interface where we can use these data visualization tools and create a proper report out of it. And then this report can be shared for the benefit of the organization. So today the modern business intelligence interfaces, they have a wide number of options concerning the choice of how to use the data for visuals. That means we have so many visualization tools, and this business intelligence tool, they provide us this facility that how do we visualize this data properly? How can we make the best use of these data visualization tools? Now, let us talk about the data visualization benefits. What all benefits this data visualization provides us? First of all, it lets us absorb large amount of data at a glimpse of an eye. Our brain, it can effectively process an image in just about 13 milliseconds. See, if you have to read the text or you have to read the numbers, so for reading that you take some time for reading and analyzing that. But if you are being provided with the data in the form of image, in the form of visuals, so analysis of that becomes much easier as compared to the text or number. So these data visualization tools, what is the first benefit? First benefit is they let us absorb the large amount of data at a glimpse of an eye. That is the very first advantage of using this data visualization tools. Second, speed up the decision making process. When your brain, it can process the data from the visual representation so fast. That means you can also make data-driven decision faster. Obviously, everything about the decision making, how you take the decision, it will depend on the analysis of your data. And if the analysis becomes fast, so obviously the tendency of speeding up the decision making process, it becomes faster. If we take certain decision, accordingly we can make certain changes into our data. Suppose we are changing the price of any particular product, or we are changing the location of any product. So how are these decisions taken? This decision will entirely depend on the data. And if we are able to visualize this data properly, so this will definitely speed up our decision making process. So that is the second benefit. Talking about the third benefit, easily shows the relationship between the operations and the results. So it allows the user to track the connection between the operation and the result both, and act accordingly whenever necessary. We perform certain operation and then we view the result. So the relationship, every operation will affect the result. Whatever operation you perform as per your business, whatever changes, whatever things you perform onto your data, automatically the result will be impacted. So the relationship can be easily shown up with the help of these data visualization tool. Fourth, And the most important advantage is boost your revenue. Data visualization, they provide you with the right information to help the decision maker make the right benefit of the data and eventually boosting the revenue. The revenue, it can be increased. The funds of your organization, they can be increased. Definitely, if you are using these data visualization tools properly. You are easily analyzing and accessing the data. So if you're able to do this, so obviously this is eventually going to boost the revenue of the company. So these are few of the advantages that our data visualization tools they provide us. So the first advantage is they let us absorb a large amount of data at a glimpse. Second, they speed up the decision making process. Thirdly, they easily show the relationship between the operation and the result. Fourth, and the most important advantage of using a data visualization tool is they boost up our revenue, the revenue of the organization. So these are few of the benefits that our data visualization tool they provide us. Now, understanding the term unconstrained view. Basically, talking about what is view. A view is created by combining the data from different tables. Hence, a view, it does not have a data of itself. What happens, we have number of tables onto which our data is stored. Now, at some point of time, we want to view our data by combining the data from various tables. So, a view is created by combining the data from these different tables. A view here, it does not have its own data. The view, it is not having its own data. What will this view do? This will just represent us with the data. And this data, it will be accessed from the tables. So, a view, it is a subset of data that is generated from our user query and gets stored as a permanent object. That means whenever a user, he generates a query. So in revert to his query, a particular view of data, it gets created and it gets stored into the memory as a permanent object. So that is what view is. Now talking about the term unconstrained. Unconstrained, it simply means that the choice variable, it can take any of the value. There are no restriction. That means our view is unconstrained. That means it can take up any value. It can take any data without any restriction. Constraint means that the choice variable, it can only take certain values within our larger range. When we are talking about constrained view, that means we are specifying certain range of data out of which the value can be accessed. So that is constraint. But when we talk about unconstrained means the variable, it can take any data. So unconstrained view, it is a view of data without any sort of restriction. Data, it can be accessed efficiently from various data sources that we have. So these business intelligence tool today, they provide us with the unconstrained view of our data. This unconstrained view of data can be provided by accessing the data from various data sources. This view, this will not have the data of itself, but this view can be used to visualize the data. And this data will be gathered from various tables which are stored at different data sources. And unconstrained means that we have no restriction on what data we want to access. And we have a view which is unconstrained, which can be used in any form.